All right, Jim, well, let's move on here. And I have an article that several listeners have sent in, was published about a day ago, from the Sportster. Of course, the new Sports Illustrated for people who are on the internet and have just learned how to read. They have an article, I kid. They have an article here, How Jim Cornette and Paul Heyman Are Different and How They Are the Same. Have you seen this article?
I have not seen this. And I'm wondering who had that much time to figure out how all the differences between me and Paul Heyman.
This was written by Joey Haverford. Here's the article. I'll go right to the list. Number 10, you guys are different in regards to romance in wrestling. The view of storytelling in wrestling sees Jim Cornette and Paul Heyman having different approaches to the romantic side.
What?
Hold on, I gotta stop right there.
Wait,
when you were learning how to book, did you talk to different people about the romantic side and how to incorporate that into the show?
Well, that's the first thing that I would ask Jerry Jarrett, Bill Watts, Dusty Rhodes, whenever I got to a new territory, I'd say, well, how are we booking our romances here in this territory? What the fuck? Please enlighten me further on this.
Cornette has never been found, I think he means fond. Cornette has never been fond of having romance in wrestling, and even criticized the appeal of Miss Elizabeth during her time with Randy Savage. Heyman has gone the opposite route, and clearly loves booking to that side of things when running a show. ECW had the women involved in romantic angles and love triangles.
Oh boy.
Heyman showed he still loves that storyline when having Lana, Rusev, and Bobby Lashley in a love triangle when running Raw.
Well, Paulie's love stories or romance or whatever, basically every time you turn around, there's some kind of lesbian three-way, or Kimono Wanalea is going to do a striptease, or these two girls are both after this guy, but secretly they're still fucking, mashing minges with each other and all this shit. No, we never could have put anything like that on television in Smoky Mountain Wrestling in East Tennessee or Virginia. We never would have put that on OVW television in Louisville. We did do, for example, in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, as you'll remember, the reason why that Brian Lee switched heel and betrayed Tracy Smothers and turned on him and cost him, I believe, the Smoky Mountain heavyweight title, because Brian Lee had been enticed to go over to the dark side once that he saw Tammy Fitch in her string bikini, and she made offers to him. And that's where Tracy's promos were. What was it, Brian? Was it the belt? Was it the girl? Was it the money? Because that's what real guys can understand a friend of theirs stabbing them in the back over. Maybe not the belt. The belt means money and girls. And that's what causes fallout among friends and people to become mad at each other. So that's the kind of romance that you do in wrestling. And Paulie wanted to do, again, all of the, the lesbian fucking love triangles and tomfoolery that he thought was edgy and for young people. And I think he tried to do some of it in OVW, the brief period of time that he got kicked out of Stamford, and I'd been kicked out of there because he wanted to be in Stamford and I wanted to be here, so they couldn't have either one of us happy, so they sent him down here to book OVW. The ratings went south, and he ran off all the regular fans because he changed everything up. He put all of his stooges across from the hard camera so they could cheer at the right things, and I don't know whether it was Beth Phoenix was involved in something. I can't remember who it was. I didn't watch the show at that point in time, but people were telling me it ran them off from going to TV because it was too Northeast, too sexy, too risky, and they didn't like that the guy was fucking both the girls and the girls were both fine with it or whatever. So
people have a problem with that?
The regular fans that we had coming to our family show where Danny Davis wouldn't even let people say crap.
Good point.
Old Donna, 50-something years old, had been coming to wrestling for 40 years, didn't want to see hot lesbian action. that was the thing. Paul didn't make his product fit the audience. He started out in a place in Philadelphia where the product that he wanted to do fit the audience, and then he assumed that everybody else and everywhere else in the country was going to like that kind of shit. And it didn't fly in the South because people didn't get it. They didn't understand it. Why the fuck is all this foolishness going on in the middle of our wrestling? But so anyway, that's the difference in Rome. And then I had, when Jackie Gata and Nikita were involved with the Revolution, I had, God damn, which one was first? Well, there was a variety of personal intrigues in that whole relationship with Doug Basham and Rob Conway and the Damaja and Nikita and Jackie Gata, and Johnny Spade was the stooge in the Revolution and blah, blah, blah. But the point is, each guy, Damaja and Basham, that was trying to run the Revolution had their own girl. And then finally, I believe it was Jackie that turned and stabbed the Damaja in the back. And everybody can understand that. No good bitch stabbed me in the fucking back after all I'd done for her. That's the kind of romance you have in wrestling. You don't have people in love with each other and or fucking perverted sex fucking angles are for after the goddamn show, not on it. And you don't have people in love with each other and all smoochy kissy because it's fucking wrestling. So the women are there to stab men in the back just like they are in real life and cause conflict.
The best is still how Paul got out of Beulah McGillicuddy announcing she was pregnant. You want to talk romance and wrestling, and the things that, because they had never been done in wrestling, they were acceptable, but now you look back, they made no fucking sense. Tommy Dreamer, it turns out, got Beulah McGillicuddy pregnant shortly after he had last pile-driven her. Because remember, he was regularly pile-driving her because she was with Raven.
Yeah.
And then it turned out she wasn't pregnant. She was having an affair with Kimono Wanalaya. And then Tommy announced he's okay with it because now he's going to fuck both of them. It's the stupidest thing ever.
And that wasn't going on TV in Tennessee or Virginia, and it wasn't going on TV in Kentucky, and it wasn't going on any TV that I would have anything to do with, and it's fucking ridiculous. And that was another thing that occasionally the heel girl needs to get spanked or maybe punched in the fucking mouth or definitely whooped up on by another girl. But that's why me and Bubba Ray had our first tete-a-tete with each other, because without telling me, he power bombed Jillian Hall off the top rope through a table in a dark match, and I had to leave her off for 3 fucking weeks, and I didn't want to because she couldn't come back walking after that. It was fucking ludicrous. And Bubba, because he'd been from ECW, was like, it was a dark match. What difference does it make? 500 people out there saw it. The same 500 people are going to be at our TV next week that can't see her now. Differences in philosophy. I guess that's what this article is about. What was the next piece?
Well, the next one is one in which you are the same. Number 9, you both enjoy unscripted promos.
Okay, that's an entirely fair statement. I have nothing to disagree with that at all.
One thing that many pundits in wrestling seem to fall under the same umbrella of is enjoying unscripted promos. Vince McMahon's presentation of WWE has made good promos more scripted and less authentic. Excuse me, not good. Has made promos more scripted and less authentic over the past 2 decades. Paul Heyman and Jim Cornette were both known for liking to give bullet points and letting the wrestlers speak for themselves. Various WWE stars have revealed that Heyman having more power meant they had more creative freedom to speak in their own voice.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously. Honestly, it would be great if the business was back to promo-wise where it was 40 years ago, where you would just tell the guy, okay, you got 3 minutes, you're wrestling so-and-so, and here's your town, go. And let them do everything. But I did make concessions to modern wrestling, and also especially in OVW, where we were a training program, is that I would write down a sample promo that the guy could give with the information that he was supposed to communicate. And the reason I would write it down is because I'd tell him the story verbally one time. That's the way that it was always done with me back in the old days. They'd tell you verbally, yeah, say this and that and the other thing, or mention this, or here's your town, or here's your stipulation, or whatever the fuck, go do it. But since I was short-staffed and everybody was inexperienced, I would write that in my words, the story, and after I told it to him, I'd hand it to him. And now here's what I just said in case you need to bone up on it again, and I'm doing other shit, but put it in your own words. And then you could determine who was good at promos and who wasn't by who went out there and imparted the information that you wanted imparted, but sounded like that they were coming up with it off the top of their head and saying it in their own words, and who would try to memorize the script that they'd been given after they were clearly told this is not a script. Put it in your own words. Those people probably got along better in the WWF, but they weren't better wrestlers because wrestlers don't read scripts. So that's what I try to do, and I'm sure that's probably what Heyman tries to do also, is get the guys to say it for themselves the way they'd say it if it was happening to them, and then it sounds more individual instead of everybody saying the same thing.
Number 8, a way you and Paul Heyman are different. Relationship with Vince McMahon. The past of Jim Cornette, this is written so weirdly. The past of Jim Cornette saw him used to have a close relationship with Vince McMahon.
Saw him used to have a what?
This is the greatest sentence ever. The past of Jim Cornette saw him used to have a close relationship with Vince McMahon when part of the creative teams in the 90s. However, that went away when Cornette transitioned to running developmental and leaving the company altogether. Paul Heyman returning to WWE to manage Brock Lesnar led him to growing closer to McMahon backstage. Even though he no longer has a role in the creative team, McMahon sees Heyman having an influence that Cornette will never have in WWE again. So McMahon sees that.
Well, that's what McMahon sees. and eggs.
No, Jim.
Well, I honestly, if you want to talk about who's been yelled at more often by Vince McMahon, me or Paul Heyman, Paul wins that one hands down. Because we know that Vince has personally not only blessed Heyman out, as they used to say down south in the old days, blessed him out on a number of occasions, blamed him for the shitty ECW pay-per-view that they resurrected that wasn't Paul's fault, fired him off of that project. Vince is not, I'm trying to think of when Vince ever really yelled at me with evil intent. He raises his voice at a lot of people just yelling about things that are happening and in their direction, but yelling at me has not been that much. And fortunately, as I was about to say, if you ask a lot of people, is your life calmer and more tranquil when Vince McMahon is in it or when he's out of it? You will get the answer that right now my life is more peaceful and tranquil than Paul Heyman's is. He's never going to let Paulie have another creative chance probably because Paul would probably decline for reasons we've mentioned, that he knows he's smart enough to not get himself in shit that he can't get himself out of, and it would harm his reputation as a mad scientist if he couldn't make this shit any better, because we passed the point where one person could. So he was there and they hired him and then fired him for running the show that one time because they needed somebody to hire and fire that wasn't Triple H.
You said that Paul's been yelled at by Vince McMahon probably more than you. Do you think there's anyone who's been yelled at by more McMahons than Paul Heyman?
No, because when you take Stephanie into account, because I didn't work that much with Stephanie. I've, worked around her some. She was not that important before I left, thank goodness. So Stephanie's never yelled at me. Linda's never yelled at anybody. And Shane and I always got along just fine and peachy. And the last time I saw him, we had a longer talk than I had with most of the boys. It was down at the Hall of Fame thing. So Paul has definitely been yelled at by more members of the McMahon family. And then if you count Triple H in the family, Paul has almost a clean sweep except for Linda. So the point is, Paul's close to Vince, and he's welcome to keep that spot. And I enjoy the 1,000 or 1,200 mile separation.
Number 7 on this list, ways that you and Paul Heyman are the same. You are both strong commentators.
About life and society, or just related to wrestling?
I think wrestling commentators, and we can both agree on that, I believe, without reading the description here. Correct?
I think that one's a pretty much a gimme, that Paul does a great job on color, and everybody knows that I'm just merely the best.
However, you guys are different. Number 6, you're different when it comes to pushing smaller wrestlers. For whatever reason, I use a photo of Marco Stunt here, but let me read the description.
Which one? Which did me or Paul, either one, push Marco Stunt?
And what a photo they used. But ladies and gentlemen, it says, the view of using smaller wrestlers has seen different philosophies of Jim Cornette and Paul Heyman. This has to be someone from another country writing this. Cornette still insults some of the wrestlers in AEW for being shorter, or generally smaller, as he doesn't think those talents are credible. The history of Heyman has seen him pushing smaller wrestlers in noteworthy roles against giants. Spike Dudley, specifically, was among ECW's bigger faces, due to getting pushed as an undersized underdog hero. The current roster in WWE has seen Heyman not caring about size, as he wanted to help any talents he felt had star power when in control of Raw. So your theories on smaller wrestlers, Jim?
I think he maligns Heyman a little too much here. I will give him Spike Dudley, in that Paul did use Spike Dudley, and Spike's a nice guy. But the big reason that made him a big babyface was because not only was he in the Dudley group, which included Bubba Ray and Devon and etc., but because the gimmick was that they could pick him up and just throw him away, just throw him over the top rope, out of the ring, into the crowd, into the bleachers, into wherever. Remember, that was the feature of doing something to poor little Spike Dudley, where he was launched a significant way and took a big bump, and because he was willing to do it and he was small enough to have it done to him. Am I missing something as to what Spike Dudley's appeal was there in that environment? You saw more ECW than I did.
That was kind of it. He was the gimmick brother of the gimmick Dudleys. He was the little one who took the bumps and got thrown around. And that's not to take anything away from him. I mean, that's just what the role was. Yeah,
that's what it was. But, I never had anybody that I particularly had a spot to do that with or wanted to do that with. I never wanted to make it any of my wrestlers' gimmick that they were thrown large distances into dangerous locations for the pleasure of the crowd. You can do other shit that's less dangerous. Now, past that, who did Paulie ever use in ECW or anywhere that he was in charge of, such as any of the WWE programs, that was as small as Dwarf Dong Sucker, old Marco Stunt? Or where did he use anybody that was remarkably smaller or dissimilar in size to a lot of my OVW talent, or even some of the guys in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, that were, none of them that I remember were anywhere near the diminutive stature of the tiny wrestlers that you see today? So I think he's maligning Heyman, like that Heyman also used guys that are 5'3" and 130 pounds, and I don't remember him doing that.
Well, he did use Rey Mysterio in the States.
Oh, well, goddamn Rey Mysterio. Okay, again, just like with the Road Warriors and face-painted muscle guys, just like with everything, there's exceptions to every rule, and they're few and far between, and the reason why they get over is because they're exceptional, because they're different. Rey Mysterio Hispanic superstar for the fucking kids, fucking tremendous performer, and made it look legitimate. Same thing as Mick Foley and garbage deathmatch wrestling. There's always one, but you cannot compare Rey Mysterio and fucking Marco Stunt.
Well, I'll give you one more.
You are.
Yeah, and I'll give you one more, and he's not that small. And I'm trying to remember height-wise, maybe 5'8", maybe. But Heyman actually, I think, did it right with him. Mikey Whipwreck. Remember, he was a job guy. Yep, he was a rag doll. He got a fluke victory.
Yeah.
And then somehow he started to learn how to wrestle, but they hit him for a while. He was Cactus Jack's partner.
He was a mopey-faced looking underdog, sort of like Dante Martin, mopey-faced underdog, but without the incredible athletic leaping ability, but with a certain amount of likability, and they made him the fan favorite because the fans felt sorry for him when the big bad heels whooped up on him, and when he went and got a partner or friends or backup that could help him, then people got behind him. Yeah, and that was an offshoot of the first booking job that Paulie had was what in
ICW, Mario Savoldi.
Yeah, 88, 89.
No, a little bit after that, I think.
Was it 90, 91?
It was,
whatever.
Because it was after they sent him home. It was after Flair got tired of him and sent him home.
But he had the gimmick was the wrestling school dropout. And there was a little bit of that, and obviously that never went anywhere, and it was ICW Savoldi's, but there was a little bit of that in Whipwreck also. But point being still, when you look at guys like Malenko and Guerrero, they were small for that time frame. Paulie used them, and I used guys in Smoky Mountain and/or in OVW that were the same size as them, as long as they were talented and looked like athletes. It's not fucking difficult.
I mean, Dean Malenko is what, 5'6", 5'7"? How tall was Candido?
5'6" ish, I think, and he was 220 something and could bench press, 400 something pounds.
He looked like an athlete.
Yeah, because he was strong as a bull.
Well, Jim, before we get back to this list, one of the ways that you guys are different is you have been able to keep your hair while Paul Heyman, I don't know what's going on over there.
Paul, the top of his head, the pate of his dome, as they say, folks, is slicker than cum on a gold tooth. It looks like he goes up there with tweezers and removes every single hair follicle one at a time. Most normal people don't look like that, even if they're losing their hair, but it still affects you. It affects you mentally and physically. It might even affect you romantically, because 2 out of 3 men are going to experience some form of hair loss by the time they're 35, and more than 50 million men in the United States alone. That's not even talking about Slovenia and the Isle of Man. 50 million men in the U.S. suffer from male pattern baldness, and sad to say, there are only 2 FDA-approved medications that can prevent hair loss, and Keeps offers both of them, along with a simple and stress-free way to keep your hair. No longer will you look like poor Paul E., where you look like Uncle Creepy if he'd been inflated with helium, because you can have convenient virtual doctor consultations and medications delivered straight to your door every 3 months. You don't even have to leave the house. And because Keeps offers generic versions of those fine hair loss products, the treatment start at just $10 a month. Discreet packaging, proven results. Don't be a Heyman, folks. Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors, and prevention is the key. See, if Paulie had started this 30 years ago, today he'd look like Farkas the Wolfman, but instead, he looks like Uncle Creepy blown up on helium. So, if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to Keeps, KEEPS.com/JCE to get your first month of treatment for free. That's Keeps.com/JCE, your first month for free. Don't look like a Heyman. Look like a Farkas.
Well, Jim, to keep going with this list of ways you and Paul Heyman are the same and different, at number 5, you are both the same when it comes to clashing backstage with others. The personalities of Paul Heyman and Jim Cornette being polarizing saw them having a lot of the same enemies. What? The personalities of... Let me read that again. The personalities of Paul Heyman and Jim Cornette being polarizing saw them having a lot of the same enemies. Neither man has ever been accused for biting their tongue and struggling to express an opinion either way. Cornette was fired by multiple promotions for clashing backstage with others and even for striking Santino Marella in WWE Developmental. The same issues followed Heyman during his first WWE stint when losing his job due to clashing with Vince and Stephanie McMahon. So you guys are the same backstage. What do you think?
Well, we're not just backstage, but anywhere. It's great movie directors. Let's just pick two. Steven Spielberg, Alfred Hitchcock. Since Paulie kind of looks like Alfred Hitchcock, and I've made a lot of blockbusters, so I kind of
give me
like
a break.
Spielberg.
Give me a break.
Nothing like each other, but they neither one want somebody else coming in and telling them how to make a movie, right? So it's just natural. We have the same trait that we see what we're trying to do, and we see what everybody needs to do to get there, and we get cranky when other people don't see that. So I can't argue with that categorization, but since we went through and worked out one time how many times I actually had been fired by anybody versus quitting, walking off, or just mutually agreeing not to choke each other. And I don't know whether Paul might have the edge on me or not, or at least we might be tied because he was fired when Stephanie got mad at him, and he was writing SmackDown, right, in the 2000s. And he got fired. Was that a different firing than when they did the ECW resurrection and they fired him after that because they blamed him for the thing sucking when they told him to make it suck? And they fired him here a year or two ago as what was the title they gave him when he
Executive
and Bischoff?
Director?
Executive Director. So they only fired me once from a consultant's deal, the WWE, but they fired him 3 times from different positions. I wasn't fired from WCW. I quit, but Flair fired him, but they brought him back because he threatened to sue. Let's see. I'm trying to think, where else was I fired? I think it's about even. Maybe 3 or 4 apiece. What do you think?
Well, one way you guys are different, at number 4, your opinion of today's wrestlers. Wrestling has drastically changed from the peak eras of Jim Cornette and Paul Heyman in wrestling. One of the two has clearly acclimated to those changes better than the other when looking at their track records. Cornette had a failed run in Ring of Honor, and now just podcasts primarily about the things he dislikes in the business. Heyman has developed a close bond with dozens of recent WWE wrestlers, from current top stars Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, to the released younger talents like Aleister Black and Murphy. And for the record, Jim,
was there a period on that?
That was the period, okay. And again, this is about your opinion of today's wrestlers being a difference. The photo used, even though not exactly referenced here, and I don't know if Heyman's ever said anything, is Kenny Omega. We know your opinion of him, but I don't know what Paul Heyman's opinion of him is.
I don't know why he's there, since I don't think Paul has openly said yay or nay on him, either one. Well, it is only natural that Paul would have more friends in the modern wrestling community because he still is involved in it, and I would have more friends in the wrestling community of the 80s and 90s because if Paul worked with them in the 80s and 90s, chances are he still owes them money or cost them their homes or cars or whatever the case. So they're not happy with it. I think Dreamer was the one that fantasized about hopping the rail at WrestleMania and shooting him in the head.
Yeah, well, so, he's filled with all sorts of bad ideas, so let's not use him as the barometer.
But I'm just saying. Well, and there was Candido and Tammy who were, from their own lips, told me, yeah, we lost our home because Paul never paid us back all the money we charged up on our credit cards when he made us assistant booker so we'd pay for the trans. And let's face it, Paul, The one thing that I've said about Paul of late is that bless him for having the patience and the energy and the desire to still do this shit. Bless him for it, because he's 3 or 4 years younger than me. I know he doesn't look like it, but he is. And he still wants to go to these buildings every week. And he went to Saudi fucking Arabia. And he wants to fly on the corporate jet. And apparently wants to be on TV. And bless him for that. And to do that, he's got to put up with some of this modern foolishness. I can't bless him for that. But it's not like he's always had people that he saw something in that he wanted to push when he was in a position of power. The same thing with me and the same thing with every other booker. And I don't see Paul pushing or being interested in a lot of the silliness these days just because he's Paul. And I think that he probably just diplomatically hides it or disguises it better, but he's still working with Roman Reigns. He's still working with Brock Lesnar. The people that he works directly with are either top guys that there's no foolishness to and he knows will draw money, or younger guys that he feels can be put in that position. So he's not out there advocating for Luchasaurus and fucking whoever. So I don't see that big a difference either. I think Paul just still wants to do this stuff, and bless him. And that's why he, I'm sure, hides his eye rolling, except for certain guarded confidants at most of the shit that goes on, because he knows the same thing as I do and the same thing that a lot of people do. A lot of it's bullshit. He's softened up and doesn't express it as much anymore.
Well, let's see how he has softened up about this next one. Number 3. A way that you and Paul Heyman are the same. Blood in wrestling. The use of blood in wrestling is another polarizing topic that sees drastically different opinions from various sides. Paul Heyman, I don't know why I feel like I have to read this in a wacky manner. Paul Heyman and Jim Cornette have shown the same side of the argument as bookers who use blood to advance stories. Heyman did it quite often in ECW, and essentially ushered in the changes that influenced the Attitude Era for WWE. Cornette has a more old-school approach of wanting blood in big matches, as he feels it adds to the story and drama. Nothing too wrong there, right?
That's exactly correct, and they brought up something that, unfortunately, because of Shitstain being an ECW mark and because of Bruce getting a kick out of it, there were things that were brought over from ECW that led to parts of the Attitude Era, and basically the tables and the chairs and the concertos and the coast to coasts, then the Van Daminators and the fucking furniture and the kendo sticks and the ridiculous amounts of blood and the barbed wire and blah, blah, blah. And that's something that Paul's never going to be able to live down. He's responsible for a lot of it. On the other hand, my hands are clean. I don't have to take any of the blame for all that shit because I never overdid blood. I did blood in wrestling the same way that it's always been done in main events and big matches and or angles to increase attendance at same, and not overboard and ridiculous, and with the not only just the blood but also the furniture, because the furniture is worse than the blood. You can bleed all day long and not hurt yourself, but you take one wrong bump in that furniture, you're fucked. So I don't disagree with the statement of the article there, but there was more to it in that Paul's usage of violence in general led to a lot more damage being done to the wrestling business than anything that I did. And then, as we all know, OVW, because it was based in Kentucky, with the Athletic Commission regulations, we had no blood, which hurt us in some cases on a few big matches, but didn't kill us. And if you'd have taken the blood out of ECW during its heyday, the people would have set seats on fire. So it is what it is.
and that somewhat ties into number 2 here on the list, a way that you and Paul Heyman are different, hardcore wrestling. Even though Jim Cornette enjoys the use of blood in big matches, he is one of the biggest haters against the hardcore wrestling style. Cornette loathes when wrestlers use too many weapons or turn it into the hardcore genre instead of making it a limited aspect of the performance. Paul Heyman made his reputation as the booker of ECW when booking hardcore match after hardcore match. The belief that violence sells was used by Heyman to make ECW drastically different than WWE and WCW in the mid-90s.
Violence does sell. Horse shit doesn't sell. Well, let's say if you're trying to grow gardens, it might sell. There's a difference between violence among professional fighters and phony shit that obviously hurts and at the same time requires cooperation for people to put on a stunt show display and whack each other with blunt instruments. There's the difference. If you can't figure it out in your own mind, I could spend a half an hour more explaining it, and it wouldn't make any sense to you anyway because you can't pick up on it. But that's the difference. And the kind of violence in ECW also was a turnoff to any wider audience or to any more reputable television outlet or to any reputable sponsor. They can sponsor a UFC match where the two guys in the main event fighting for a championship bust each other up and they're bleeding from the eye or bleeding from the head. But when you've got guys laying in the ring with tables and barbed wire and chair and light tubes and kendo sticks, and it's just a big bunch of bullshit with no athletic ability being displayed, then you've drastically cut down not only your potential viewers, but also your potential revenue, and you've made your business look like something that is on the level of the people that bite the heads off the chicken at the county fair. Just things that normal people don't want to be involved with.
Do you think what we now call the hardcore style, and originally it wasn't called that, you were a hardcore fan if you really were into wrestling, and then somehow the wrestling that the hardcore fans watch became hardcore wrestling, and then that just degenerated into all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what Paul Heyman actually likes? Or do you think that's what Paul Heyman knew he needed ECW to be? Because this actually touched on an important point. ECW wasn't a third promotion. It wasn't a Northeast promotion. It was presented as an alternative to what was out there at the peak of both companies being really bad, 94, 95. Do you think it's what Paul Heyman liked or what he thought was necessary for that audience?
Well, it was necessary for the Philly audience because that was the first town that got a significant smart fan population that knew what was going on behind the scenes. And also Philly being the sports crowds being particularly bloodthirsty, and just the building that he was in, that dump, that piece of, that is the, I've been involved in wrestling and or going to wrestling matches since 1974. And I've never been in a shittier place, in a shittier part of a town than the ECW arena. Now the 2300 arena, or what did they say? They've redone it. I was there when Ring of Honor was using it 10 years ago. It was a toilet that didn't even work. But to get people to go in there, it was the grunge craze, the fucking Kurt Cobain. I'm a multimillionaire rock star, but I'm miserable and I'm going to shoot myself and leave my wife and baby because we're all fucking miserable. And everybody wants to fucking bash themselves over the head with shit and the fucking, Marilyn Manson shit and blah, blah, blah. And he had a place there where he could put 1,000 people that wanted to see a bunch of fucking chaos in a building and make it look on television like that this was a hot thing. And that's what he was doing, smoke and mirrors. If he'd have started promoting in Dallas, Texas, if he had tried to do that shit, it wouldn't have worked. or any, a normal town somewhere else. But you had a bunch of people that were smart to the wrestling business, so they had to see guys go even further. It's the Northeast anyway. People are naturally a little bit more fucking cynical and fucking whatever. He had a bunch of guys within driving distance there that would do that kind of shit, plus the ones that he could bring in. It was, and he created smoke and mirrors that this is the alternative promotion, and got enough of a buzz that the other companies, because they were floundering, started doing some of that shit, which was hot-shotting. And then, combining that with the Monday Night Wars and the big budget fight between WCW and WWF, now people are seeing that, and that's why the Attitude Era took off. Hot-shotting on both sides, doing all this crazy shit people hadn't seen before. And that's why we've never been able to follow it since then. You got no more Rock and no more Austin. We've done everything we can do wrestling-wise. You can't impress anybody anymore with an angle. And everybody's smart. And business has been going down ever since then, as I kind of predicted 20 years ago, but nobody would listen to me. But it's funny, like we said earlier in the program, now all the people that were big in the 80s, now the people are imitating other people. Now, suddenly, all the predictions from the 80s and 90s that have come true, people are going, he was saying that shit 25 years ago. Anyway, what was next?
Well, finally, here on the list, number 1, a way that you and Paul Heyman are the same. You're both all-time great managers.
Well, who can argue with that?
No one. The guy just wrote some stuff here that's nice, so we won't read it. But that was 10 ways that you and Paul Heyman are the same and different. Any closing comments about whatever the hell this was?
No. Otherwise, then it's good to know that they're teaching English in Slovenia these days.
Some of those sentences, I'm trying to read them, and it's like my brain goes crazy. I'm like, what are these words in this order?